Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi. My name is Samantha, and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm coming to you with my October wrap-up because October's over, somehow. The months are flying by. We have 2 months left of the year, and I just checked my reading goals for the year that I set on Storygraph. I'm on track for the number of books, that goal that I wanted to read. I've read 48 out of the 52 that I wanted to read, but you can also set a pages goal and an hours goal, and I did set both of those. I actually set my hours goal as 25 hours because I normally just do it like for the number of the year, you know? And so yeah, I set it for 25 hours and I completed that a long time ago, and I upped it to 100 hours, and now I'm falling behind on that. And then for my pages goal, I set it to 25,000 because again, the year. I am 6,000 short at the moment, which is a lot. Like when I think about that in like relation to books, that's like 10 600-page books or 20 300-page books, and I'm like, that's not gonna happen. So I think I'm gonna fail my pages goal again, but I've been in a little bit of a reading slump, which means that this wrap-up is also gonna be quite short because I only read 4 books in October. I also had some DNFs, but I don't really talk about DNFs anymore unless it's like in a reading vlog. But I think at the end of the year I'll talk about all of the books that I DNF'd in the year because there have been a few, especially recently. I don't know, I've just been struggling so much. I don't really know what I want to read, but like I feel like I don't really want a romance. It's not really holding my attention. I don't really want anything cozy, which is weird because normally that's like my vibe for this time of year. What I think I really want is like a high fantasy or just something that's like super fast paced and engrossing. I don't know what I want. Anyway, that's a problem for when I'm reading. Today we're going to chat about the books that I read, obviously. So if you've never watched one of my wrap-ups before, what I like to do is I first go over all of my stats that I get from a Storygraph. Then we go over all the books I read and when I rated them. And then I will do reviews of the books that I feel like I have more to say about or that I haven't already mentioned in another video. So yeah, like I already said, I only read 4 books and I've already spoken about 2 of them in other videos. Well, one of them's been posted, one of them is, I'm like working on it now. So yeah, we're gonna talk about like 2 books in detail. Let's get into the stats because I'm rambling. So like I said, in the month I read 4 books. I read a total of 1,973 pages. I listened to 1.33 hours of audiobook, and the average time it took me to finish a book was 5 days. In terms of the moods, I had 4 adventurous books. Oh, so all of the books I read were adventurous. 3 of them were funny, 2 were mysterious, 2 lighthearted, and 1 emotional. All of them were medium-paced books because that's what I typically go for. Page number, I had 3 that were between 300 and 499 pages and 1 that was over 500 pages. For audiobooks, I didn't listen to any audiobooks. Not that I finished. I did immersive read one book, the book that was over 500 pages. I actually listened to the audiobook and read along at the same time. And sometimes I did just listen to the audiobook, but I like tracked it on Storygraph as a physical book because that's how I started reading it. All of the books I read were fiction. I haven't read a single nonfiction book this year. For genres, I had 4 fantasy books. Oh, I did not realize that. But yeah, all of the books I read were fantasy. 2 of them were like romance leaning. 1 fell into the LGBTQI+ category. 1 young adult. I would say it's bordering on new adult, but it's like young adult, but like written for an adult audience, really, because most of the people reading it now, I would say, are adults who were fans of the series when they were kids, but that's a whole other tangent for a different video because we're not going to even talk about that book in this video. 1 mystery? What was a mystery? Oh, okay, fair enough. And 1 historical. The format, I read 2 books on my Kindle and 2 books in print. The ratings, wow, I had an average rating of 3.63. I had 1 that was 2.75 stars, 1 that was 3, 1 4.25, which is maybe a 4.5. I don't know. I still haven't made up my mind on that book, but for now it's staying at 4.25. Then 1 4.5. And then I don't know, we'll scroll down to like my little graph of the days that I read. As you can see, it was a bit all over the place. Like I said, I've been in a bit of a slump. I have not been reading consistently, which is a problem. I even took a week off Instagram during this time, and I still didn't even really read more. So that's annoying. There you go. That's all for the stats. Now let's quickly go over all of the books I read and what I rated them, and then we'll get into the reviews. So the first book that I read was Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher, and I gave this 4.25 stars. This is the one where I'm like, I don't know, because I loved so many aspects of this, but there was just one really like gross part that I really did not enjoy. So yeah, like in terms of the romance and the fantasy, 5 stars, amazing. The horror, I could have done without. and this would have been perfect without it. I already spoke about this book at length in my latest TBR Tackle episode, so I'll just link that video up in the card if you want to know all of my thoughts and feelings. I kind of gave you a little summary just then, but yeah, if you want to hear more about this book, check out that video. And then I read Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper, and I gave this 3 stars. Then I read a mysterious book, which is going to be in the next episode of TBR Tackle, and I gave that 4.5 stars. And then finally, I read Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldree, which is an arc. It's coming out on the 13th of November, and I gave this 2.75 stars. I'm so sorry. Those are all the books. And now let's chat in more detail about the 2 books that I haven't spoken about anywhere else yet. So I normally start with my lowest rated and then end with my highest rated, but obviously there's not that much in it between these 2 books. I will start with The Elephant in the Room, Brigands and Bread Knives, which I don't know if I'm saying that word correctly. I've never seen that word before this book came out. So yeah, I'm gonna keep saying it how I'm saying it. This is the 3rd book, technically, in the Legends and Lattes series. If you don't know, Legends and Lattes is a cozy fantasy book following our main character, Viv. She's an orc, and she was like part of a mercenary crew, but she decides that she's had enough. She retires, she moves to this small town, and she wants to open up a coffee shop, and then she kind of connects with the other people in the town, and they all come together to help her and open up this beautiful cozy coffee shop. And that's literally all it is. It's like very low stakes. It's like literally the tagline is high fantasy, low stakes, because you've got all of these high fantasy characters, but they're not really doing anything fantastical. They're just living their lives, opening a coffee shop, and it's cute and wholesome, and I loved it so much. And then I read Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is actually the prequel, but it came out after, and I didn't enjoy this one so much. This one was good, but not my favorite. It follows Viv while she's still in her mercenary crew. She's recovering from an accident, and she's stuck in this small town, and she comes across this character called Fern, who owns a bookshop, and so they sort of interact and become friends. And so this book, Brigands and Bread Knives, follows Fern. It's been a few years, quite a few years, I think, since Bookshops and Bone Dust, and Fern has had enough of living in that town, so she decides to come and move to where Viv lives and open up a bookshop right next door to Legends and Lattes. By the way, I don't think that any of this is like a spoiler, really. Fern comes to live in the town where Viv is living and decides to open a bookshop, and I really thought that that's what the story was going to be, like old friends reconnecting, this like cozy story of the bookshop right next to the coffee shop. Like, what more could you actually want than like your best friend owning a coffee shop right next to your bookshop? Like, that's the dream. But that's not actually Fern's dream. She has become very disillusioned with owning a bookshop. Like, she knows that in theory she should be so grateful, but she really just does not want this life for herself. So she gets wasted and she passes out in a cart and wakes up on the road like miles away from the town. And so then she's stuck with this like fearsome warrior. And so yeah, they kind of go on this journey, and Fern is trying to find herself along the way. So that's not the story I was expecting. And I don't know if I didn't read the synopsis or if I just read a little bit and just assumed, oh, perfect, it's going to be Viv and Fern having their bookshop and cafe right next to each other. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd just forgotten. I don't know. But I requested the arc. I was so excited, obviously, because I loved Legends and Lattes. And this just was not what I was expecting it to be at all. I was really, really disappointed, clearly, by my reading. I was really bored. I felt like it was kind of trying to be a little bit more action-packed and a little bit less cozy, but it still has the cozy atmosphere. So there was just something about it that just wasn't working together. And ultimately, I wanted something different from what this story was. And, you know, obviously that's partially on me because I clearly did not read the synopsis properly. So yeah, I would say if you love Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust, like, don't worry about it. You're still gonna have a good time with this book. But I don't know, it's not that I don't love Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust, but I think just like go in with different expectations. Like, this isn't gonna be necessarily the same vibe as Legends and Lattes. It's a bit different. I'm very sad about this one. But I've also kind of realized that I don't think I enjoy cozy fantasy series. That's not necessarily true, but normally I like prefer the first book in the series, and then after that I don't enjoy it as much. And I think it's because I just like want to recapture the exact same magic as the first book. So I also recently had this with The Spell Shop, that series. I loved The Spell Shop. And The Enchanted Greenhouse, I gave 2 stars. Like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I do have another cozy fantasy on my radar, which is You Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. And I know that that's a series, so I don't know. I don't know about going into that one, but either way, this unfortunately was a disappointment. Moving on, another like cozy but fantasy romance that I read was Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. And I was like really looking forward to this one because I love a small town cozy witchy rom-com in theory, but in practice I have not had very much luck. Pretty much the only one that I actually love is The Ex-Hex and The Kiss Curse. I don't like the third book in that series, but those two I love. If you want like Halloween Town, Hocus Pocus, more Hocus Pocus, I guess, like Hocus Pocus, romance, fun vibes, I love The Ex-Hex and The Kiss Curse. And I've been looking to recapture that magic ever since. This basically follows our main character, Emmy. Emmy had a really bad breakup 9 years before the start of this book, so she decides to leave her small town and move to the city. And she's a witch, by the way. And by leaving her small town, she also like doesn't have access to her magic. The magic is really tied to this small town. So yeah, but she doesn't care. She's like, I'm over it. I want to leave because this guy broke her heart. He is also a witch. The guy's called Gareth. He broke her heart years ago. She decided to leave, leaving behind her family, her best friend, her whole life. But she has to come back for this magical competition, which happens every so often. I don't know how often. I can't remember. But yeah, there's this magical competition. So she comes back, she meets up with her old best friend, Lyndon, and it turns out that not only did Gareth break Emmy's heart, he also broke Lyndon's heart. And Emmy also comes across this woman called Talia, who is another witch. By the way, they're all witches. And Talia is like the hot older woman from high school who she was always obsessed with. And I think she's like 2 years older, and Emmy just assumed that Talia had no idea who she was. She always had a bit of a crush on Talia. Talia, turns out, has also been screwed over by Gareth. So these three women decide to team up to sabotage him in the competition because his family always wins. They're like the strongest ones. And every time you win the competition, you get slightly more powerful. So the three women decide that they are going to take Gareth down. Not just because he's an asshole, but also because his family just has way too much control over this small town. So yeah, they decide to team up and take him down. And obviously Talia and Emmy fall in love along the way. And I was really looking forward to this one. And I think initially I was having a really fun time with it. It was quite funny, and I was like enjoying the sort of John Tucker Must Die meets Halloween Town vibes. However, I didn't really love the relationship. I thought it didn't seem super well developed, and I didn't really feel the chemistry between them. It was kind of just like, I've always been obsessed with you. I also really would have loved if Talia and her family were vampires, because each family has like a different sort of branch of magic, and Talia's family is all about like ghosts and like the veil and stuff like that. Like, it's really quite dark. I really feel like they could have been vampires as well, or maybe instead, but I mean, that would have ruined the whole competition plot. But yeah, if they had been vampires, I think it would have been so fun. I don't know, it was just, there was just something off about it, and I found myself just getting really bored. I also thought that the competition was not great. It got a bit boring and also very predictable. Like the ending, I was like, of course. Of course, that's how that's gonna go. Because what I didn't mention was that Emmy's family also has like the least magic. They're actually like the referee in the competition rather than competing, which is kind of funny and interesting. But I feel like I maybe would have preferred reading from a more powerful perspective. So maybe I should continue on with the series and try another one because they do follow different characters, but equally, I just didn't love it. It was still a fun, cute time. I would recommend it. But yeah, it's just nothing groundbreaking. Those are all the books I'm going to talk about today because like I said, I already have a review up of Paladin's Grace, and then also I have a review coming soon for that mysterious book that you have no idea what it is unless you follow me on Goodreads, and I do just update as I go, so I really need to not do that, but that's fine. Yeah, that's all that I read in October. Not very much. Hopefully November is a better reading month for me, but like I said, kind of in a reading slump, so I don't really know what I'm doing. Yeah, if you have any recommendations for books to get me out of my reading slump, let me know. And yeah, let me know what you read down below. I would love to know. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave me a witch emoji for Payback's a Witch. Yeah, that's all that I have. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.